Welcome back. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to build a great plot twist, deliberately, technically, and with precision. Here's something nobody tells you about plot twists. The best ones aren't shocking, they're inevitable. When readers hit a great twist, they don't think, "I never saw that coming." They think, "How did I miss that?" That's the difference. There are 5 techniques that separate a twist that genuinely floors people from one that just frustrates them. Let's go through each one. Tip number 1, hide the truth in plain sight. The golden rule of every great plot twist is this: all the clues must be present. You just have to make sure readers look right past them. The first way to do this is the red herring. Give your reader a loud, obvious mystery, something they're actively trying to solve, so they completely miss the quiet one running underneath it. If your protagonist is obsessed with catching a killer, they won't stop to wonder why the helpful neighbor seems to always know a little too much. The second technique is the double function prop. Introduce an object early with a boring, mundane purpose. A heavy trophy sitting on a desk is just an award, until a flashback reveals it was the murder weapon. And third, camouflage. Hide your most important clue inside a list of boring things. For example, he packed his bag, a toothbrush, a spare shirt, a glass eye, and a map. Your reader's brain will race past the glass eye to get to the map. That's exactly what you want. Tip number 2, leverage character assumptions. Readers don't read your story neutrally. They bring every bias, assumption, and genre expectation with them. Your job is to use that against them. The first trap is the halo effect. If a character is introduced with a positive trait, such as attractiveness, kindness, or a noble profession, the readers instinctively assign them moral goodness across the board. They stop questioning that character. So, when the doctor is actually a killer, quietly eliminating the patients they deem unworthy. The reader ignored the bloody bandages in the bin because they'd already filed that character under good guy. The second trap is the archetype costume. Readers have been trained by thousands of stories to recognize certain character types: the bumbling sidekick, the grumpy authority figure, the wise mentor. The moment you dress a character in one of those costumes, the reader stops examining their motives. The sidekick is there for comic relief. The police captain is just a bureaucratic obstacle. Nobody suspects the mentor. The third trap is the victim cloak. We almost never suspect someone who has already suffered. If a character was attacked early in the story and barely escaped, readers lock them in behind a wall of empathy. What they don't consider is that the escape might have been staged. The most powerful twists are the ones where readers realize they misled themselves. Tip number 3, the third option strategy. Experienced readers are always metagaming your story. They're not just watching, they're actively trying to outsmart you. The third option strategy uses that against them. Here's how it works. You present a clear binary, either A or B. You make both options feel genuinely possible, with real stakes and real evidence. While the reader is furiously hunting for clues pointing to A or B, their guard drops completely against option C. Let's walk through it. A king is poisoned. Evidence points to the jealous brother, option A, or the ambitious general, option B. You spend chapters showing the brother sharpening his dagger and the general meeting with spies. Both feel entirely plausible. Then the reveal. The king poisoned himself to frame them both and clear the throne for his secret heir. The key is that option C must be seeded throughout. Tiny clues that didn't fit either A or B, things the reader dismissed as flavor text or background noise. In hindsight, they realized those clues were the whole story. Tip number 4, the check the receipt moment. Here's the test for any great twist. Immediately after the reveal, the reader should be able to flip back through the book and find at least 3 moments where it was foreshadowed. That backward journey, where everything clicks, is the real payoff. That's what makes readers want to reread the whole thing from the beginning. To build this, you need 3 types of clues scattered through the story. Physical clues, a scar, an object, a wound. Verbal clues, a line of dialogue that has a completely different meaning in hindsight. And behavioral clues, an action that seems strange but dismissible in the moment. Take a simple example. Throughout the story, the protagonist's friend refuses to enter a church. The reader thinks he's just an edgy atheist. During a toast, the friend says, "I haven't felt the sun on my face in years, but with friends like you, I don't miss it," which sounds like a sentimental metaphor. Finally, the reader recalls the friend always wore a heavy, ornate silver ring, claiming it was a family heirloom. When the reveal hits that the friend is a vampire, the reader checks the receipt and realizes these weren't just quirky character traits, they were a trail of breadcrumbs leading to the truth. Pro tip: write your ending first. Once you know the twist, go back and salt the earlier chapters with clues that only make full sense on a second read. Tip number 5, the logic bridge. A great twist doesn't just introduce new information, it changes the meaning of the information the reader already has. In a standard story, facts are linear. Point A leads to B, which leads to C. In a logic bridge story, point A and point B exist in completely separate places in the narrative, and readers have no idea they're related until you drop the bridge. Here's an example. Early in the story, we learn the protagonist's mentor is a retired clockmaker who keeps his workshop at exactly 18.5 degrees Celsius. Strange detail. Quirky character flavor. Much later, a high-security bank vault is robbed. No locks picked, no glass broken. Seemingly unrelated. The bridge, the vault's thermal sensors are designed to ignore movement if the room temperature holds at exactly 18.5 degrees. The mentor didn't just know the number, he designed the vulnerability. He's been rehearsing in that workshop for years. One rule for making this land properly: separate point A and point B by at least half the book's length. If the temperature detail and the vault robbery appear in consecutive chapters, readers will connect them immediately. But if 200 pages separate them, they'll have forgotten the temperature entirely until the reveal forces the memory back. Now let's talk about what not to do. There are 3 traps that will completely undermine everything you've built. The first is the Deus Ex Machina, a twist that introduces a solution the story never earned. If a laser cutter saves the day in the final chapter, it needs to exist in chapter 3, even just cutting a piece of toast. The reader needs to know the tool is in the world before it becomes the answer. The second is the "it was all a dream" reset. This is the ultimate betrayal of the reader's investment. If the stakes turn out to be fake, the death's not real, the growth never genuine, readers feel robbed of the emotional experience they paid for. If you must use a not real twist, the consequences still have to be permanent. The wounds from the dream appearing on the protagonist's real body, something that proves the journey cost them something. The third is cheap withholding, having a first-person narrator who secretly knows they're the killer, but spends 300 pages earnestly wondering who did it. That's not an unreliable narrator. That's the author manually covering the reader's eyes. The fix: don't have them lie. Have them reframe. A killer shouldn't think, "I didn't kill him." They should think, "I finally put him to rest." Let the reader misinterpret the thought. That's the craft. Here's the simplest way to remember all of this. A cheap twist hides information from the reader. A great twist hides it in front of them. A cheap twist introduces a new solution. A great twist reveals that the solution was always there. A cheap twist erases the journey. A great twist redefines it. The goal was never to shock your reader. It was to make them feel like the story was always smarter than they realized, and that they were the ones who missed it. That's the feeling you're building toward. Every clue you plant, every assumption you exploit, every logic bridge you lay down, it all exists to serve that one moment when everything snaps into place. Now, go write something your readers will want to read twice. That's all from us today. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more lessons and ideas. See you next time.